Welcome to WagerTalk Today. I know I'm not the Prez. I am Kelly Stewart. Kelly in Vegas. Today is Tuesday, July 9th, and we've got a fun-filled lineup. Bryan Leonard with some MLB. Marco D'Angelo, bat and cleanup, also talking MLB, both from WagerTalk.com. Arthur DiCesare from the Westgate Superbook, of course, talking my favorite topic, and that is football. And look at the guy on the other side of me here. He's got a big, beautiful smile on his face. Teddy, are you happy to see me this week instead of our good buddy Prez, who's in Las Vegas playing poker right now?
What's the right way to phrase this? I think a single word would do it. Yes, I am very happy to see you, as opposed to Prez. On any given morning, you're a ray of sunshine. Prez, not so much. Of course, on today's show, we're going to talk about the Nationals and the Mets, the Yankees and the Rays. I'm going to talk about the A's and the Red Sox. We've got the Braves and the D-backs. We've got the White Sox and the Twins. Lots of MLB, lots of football talk. Let's get right into it, Kel.
Yeah, I love getting right into it. We've got markers to hit because I actually prepared for the show. So we're going to bring in Bryan Leonard right out of the gate. Bryan has been red hot in the top three the past week and the past month. He just gave us a nice underdog winner on Saturday morning with the Colorado Rockies. So, Bryan, thank you for that one. Let's get right into your games for today.
We're going to take a look at this Washington-New York Mets lineup. Jake Irvin is having a very good season. 2.80 ERA, 1.00 WHIP. His walk percentage is in the 80th percentile, and his extension is in the 91st percentile. That said, he's about league average in just about every other key metric. He's only in the 23rd percentile in average exit velocity, 23rd percentile in hard hit rate, which means when he gets hit hard, and that's why his 2.80 ERA jumps to a 3.6 expected ERA. Speaking of ERAs, after back-to-back years with ERAs under 3.6, Jose Quintana has taken a step back this season, but he's pitched better as of late. We really like this matchup in this one. Being an experienced lefty that throws 5 pitches, we really expect him to keep the Washington bats silenced. Washington's best hitters are left-handed, and they come into this season with a WRC plus against southpaws of only 82, which is 28th in Major League Baseball. So it's 18% worse than league average and only better than the Cardinals and Marlins against lefties. I like this spot for Quintana. I think he's on his way up. I'd like to bet pitchers on the way up and fade pitchers that are overperforming. Irvin, as good a season he's had, he is overperforming here. And I just read in a couple articles on Washington is decided to sell with the break coming up. So the young Washington players who thought they maybe have a chance to go to the playoffs just got word today that we don't think you're good enough and we're going to sell. That's not a good situation to be in when you're going in against a left-handed pitcher today for the Mets.
So these two pitchers, these two teams just squared off. They played on July 4th, so their last trip to the Hill. And you want to talk about a pitcher's duel, that was nothing. When both starters were out of the game. Quintana, 7 innings, 4 hits, 0 runs allowed. Irvin, 8 innings, 1 hit, 8 strikeouts in that ballgame. And, of course, a 1-0 final. What about that game don't you expect to happen today? Because Irvin was real good against the Mets, and it's not like the Mets have been tearing the cover off the ball the last couple of days. Would you expect another low-scoring pitcher's duel? Talk about that quick turnaround second look and how that affects your handicap for this game. Because I know Quintana, with all the pitches that he throws, can be more difficult on a second look than perhaps a guy like Irvin.
That's the way I think about this also. Usually I go against what happened. Or if you see something that happened out of context and out of what is normal, I would look for the opposite to happen. What teams do is they make adjustments to what that pitcher threw the time before. Irvin, being a young pitcher only in his second year, I don't think he's going to be able to make the adjustments that, as you mentioned, that the starting pitcher Quintana will be able to do for the Mets. He's got a bigger repertoire, and he's been around a lot longer. This is a benefit for Quintana and the Mets in that regard.
As I mentioned to start the show, Bryan Leonard has been red hot. This year, he's only had 2 5% MLB plays. And, well, he's got one today for $2 Tuesday, 5% MLB for just $2. WT.buzz/BL. Again, number one in profit the last 30 and 60 days. And he has been red hot. This is only his third, 5% since September of 2023. Brian, talk to me about your next game.
Next game, I believe I used something different than what I used on the earlier show. So I'm going to take a look at this Minnesota-Chicago White Sox game, if that's what we have listed. Want to change it a little bit up since I did do the last show, and I don't want to repeat myself in every game. We really like Bailey Ober and feel he's one of the most underrated starters in the league. He comes in with a 4.12 ERA, a 1.10 whip. But we are concerned about his ability to pitch in this ballpark, which is a good stadium for hitters. He throws his four-seamer 39% of the time, but his fastball velocity grades out in the 19th percentile. That, coupled with a 7th percentile ground ball rate, means he's an extreme fly ball pitcher. We don't expect a good performance here from the young righty. And from a bullpen standpoint, neither Duran or Jax will be available tonight. In fact, their 4 back-end relievers have all pitched twice the last 2 or 3 days. So we've got a situation where your best relievers won't be available for Minnesota here, and I think it's going to be a tough game for Ober because he does give up a lot of fly balls. Eric Fetty has been a totally different pitcher after returning to the States from the year abroad. He has a 3.13 ERA, 1.13 whip, and when you consider his major league numbers, show a 4.98 ERA, 1.45 whip in his career, tells you the changes he's made has really worked out well for him this year. ERA's really been a positive. He's been a moneymaker with a 6-3 record for a team on the season that's 26-66. This is one of the 2 guys in this rotation that I want to bet on for the Chicago White Sox. Chicago's a much better team now than they were earlier in the year when they were the laughingstock of Major League Baseball and have been competitive on a pretty much daily basis. The Twins outlasted them last night, but we expect the Sox to even the current series out here, getting a nice price at plus 138. Can't pass up the Chicago White Sox here as we look to fade a guy we like in Bailey Ober.
So you said something, my head's spinning. You're like, we like Bailey Ober, but we want to fade him. The White Sox stink, but we want to back them. And we're not even getting a huge plus price in the deal. Talk to me about conceptually teams like the White Sox. I'm going to make a case for the Oakland A's in my big game breakdown as they travel to Boston. So it's not like the worst teams in baseball are unbackable all the time. But is there really money to be made with Fetty on the hill? Is it would you rather have a first 5 than a full game in this situation? Just talk to me conceptually about teams like the White Sox.
Well, the reason the first half is not something I'm using today is because the back of the Minnesota bullpen is not going to be there. Unless you are able to watch the baseball games and see how many pitches these guys have thrown, you're just going to see the starting pitchers and you're going to bet off of that. I do not like the White Sox bullpen at all, and I'm full agreement in that regard. But with Minnesota, without their best relievers in this one, or more of a situation where we can fade, because that's not being included into the line, if you ask me, in this one. Baseball is unlike any other sport. It's sort of like hockey, where little breaks tell the difference in a game. And Chicago's hitting is the worst in Major League Baseball, but it's getting better. And they do hit for power. That's one thing this team could do, is they can hit some home runs. Bailey Ober in a pitcher's ballpark, like I did the other day. We talked about Kansas City. What Kansas City has done in the offseason, signing some veteran pitchers that are fly ball pitchers. You don't get hurt in Kansas City with fly ball pitchers. You do get hurt in areas like Cincinnati, Chicago, a lot of places out there, obviously Colorado. So if I'm going to play those kind of plays, I want to play them at home with a quality pitcher that I think is going to have the advantage here. And Fetty's been around for a while. He knows how to pitch. I think it was just too much for me to pass up in this range. I got him at 138, 135 right here on this. That, to me, that's very generous in that regard.
Raise your hand if you've been personally victimized by the White Sox bullpen on more than one occasion this year. I'm with you, Brian. I was a victim again last night. I think they had a 3 or 4 run lead at one point in time. I was just scoreboard watching, not actually watching the game. My buddy said, "Not so fast. That bullpen's going to get you." And he got to wake up with a not very nice text from me this morning. So, I love when I get mushed by my friends. He is Bryan Leonard at B Leonard Sports on your social channels. Again, 5% play for just $2 at WagerTalk.com, WT.buzz/BL. Teddy, what the hell did bettors learn?
Well, let's see if Brian, is there anything else you want to promote, Brian, before we let you go? I know you're the $2 Tuesday capper today. I know you've been running good. What else you got for us?
I do want to point out, I do have 6 total plays. And since we've been running so well, I have put out more selections and made bigger plays, which is why this is our third 5%. We won the first 2. We do have a special going for a month. And they had that thing earlier last week. Here we go. 30-day all access, just $7 a day. That's a tremendous offer, especially as hot as I've been the last 2 months. It's worked out great for my clients. And the All-Star break is going to have the 3 days off. Those will be added onto your month because we don't put out plays in the All-Star game. It's too hard to handicap. So that you'll get the full 30 days of action if you do that. And for $7 a day, that's the best deal out there.
Man, no question. $7 for 30-day all access. That's $210 for every play, every day, in every sport. And that's available site-wide at WagerTalk.com. Kelly?
Teddy, I have my own promo. Our good friend Johnny Detroit just dropped it in the Slack. He said, "Hey, since you're hosting this week, we're going to put out a new coupon code." Of course, it's KIV69. They would not have it any other way. $99 7-day all X pass is just $69. It's less than $10 a day. A 3-day all access pass is normally $69. So you're getting all 7 days. Promo code KIV69. And you can use this for any of the WagerTalk handicappers. There's no limit on how many you use, how many handicappers you choose. You can use it multiple times on the same handicapper. So if you, for say, want to use it on Mr. Teddy Covers, you get 14 days at the $69 price per week. $69 KIV 69 at WagerTalk.com. All right, Teddy, now it is time, of course, for What Did Bettors Learn?
Well, so Scott Foster, we all know Scott Foster's name, NBA referee, who has been throughout his career stymied by some allegations of game fixing. He's still reffing big NBA games in the playoffs nearly 20 years later. Angel Hernandez finally walked away from baseball a few months ago. Universally reviled. He got postseason work too. So here's this one from European football. And this one looks really bad because we're not talking about allegations here. We're talking about a ref who previously confessed to max fixing. All right. Felix Zweyer. He's going to officiate the class despite he was banned for 6 months after taking a 300-pound bribe from another official in 2005. Now, obviously, when you're talking about, the quotes from England quote, you give a referee that has match fixed before the biggest game in Germany, what do you expect? You can look at the decisions in the game. This is from a match in 2021. So there's still controversy swirling around Zweyer these days. I don't get it, Kelly. I really don't. At no point should any ref be part of the story. Okay. Are you really going to tell me that 20 years after he got convicted for match fixing, that there's nobody to replace these guys? I don't want to hear about refs ever. All right. I'll take the under on when how much longer bumps are calling balls and strikes. AI is coming for their jobs and my job and your job too, Kelly. But to see the scenario like this in the Euros, where this isn't a guy who has allegations, it's a guy who's been convicted of match fixing. Why is he there? Why can't they find somebody else even 20 years later? It baffles me. Do you have any idea, Kel? Because I don't know. And I don't like talking about refs. I'm sick of talking about refs and officials and umps. Let the AI come and get these guys off the field.
Teddy's all for the robot umps. And Yeah, refs is less than 60 days away. That is the NFL. And we'll get to football here to end the show. But first, we've got to welcome on our good friend, Marco D'Angelo, co-host of Bet On It with me. We'll be back for football season as well. Marco, I feel like I haven't seen you in a while. How are we doing?
We're doing good. Teddy, those robots, do they know how to read Slack? Because apparently Brian doesn't know how to read Slack. His own play is we'll get to a duplicate game today. Brian put his games in Slack and then didn't use the two that he said. So we got a duplicate play today.
So let me ask you guys real quick.
That one first.
But before we get into I mean, when it comes to robot umps, over under 2030 before umpires aren't calling balls and strikes, what are you guys taking?
Ooh, 5.5 years. I'm going to go over. I think it's going to take some time to phase some of this AI in, and we know it's very far from perfect. I think they might start phasing it in, but like completely eradicating referees and umpires, I think it's going to take longer.
Just balls and strikes. We're just talking balls and strikes. Balls and strikes.
So we still are going to have a guy on first base. We're still going to have.
I imagine we'll still have a guy behind home plate. I imagine we'll still have someone there. He's just not calling balls and strikes anymore. I don't know how MLB will do it.
Then on that case, I'll take the under 2030.
I'll go under also. Under
exactly. Also. It's coming. It's coming. It's not far. Yeah. All right. Sorry.
We'll see. We'll see what they can do to save the NFL, Marco. Because you and I have some beef with our own referees over there. The game that you wanted to talk about was the Nationals at the Mets. But it looks like you and Brian are head to head.
Yeah, we'll have to have Teddy be the tiebreaker, and Teddy never sides with me, so I already know that I'll be losing that battle. But yeah, this is the game that I had in Slack before Brian, and Brian didn't even have this game in Slack. But here we go. We're looking at Washington and the Mets, and started off where I start these series at. You've got the Mets returning home from a road trip. You know, I like to jump in front of those teams in that first game back home. Now, the Mets were one of the hottest teams just a couple weeks ago, 12-2 over a 14-game stretch. Since then, they've gone 2-4 in their last 6 games. And what has been their culprit has been their pitching. They've been getting lit up. 6 of the last 10 games, the Mets have given up 7 runs or more in their contest. You're not going to win games that way. Now, we've got an interesting pitching matchup in this one because it's a repeat from last week. We saw a pitcher's duel where these two pitchers hooked up in Washington. It was a 1-0 final in that game, but I don't expect that to be the case again because the pitchers might have the advantage in the first go-around, but when they pitch in back-to-back starts, I'm going to give the edge to the hitters. So I'm not telling you to go take the over, but don't expect a pitcher's duel like last time. I'm going to go with the more consistent pitcher. Now, I know Jose Quintana has pitched well in his last 4 starts, but I'm looking at the entire body of work. And Jake Irvin for Washington has been solid all year. For any reason to expect him to regress, other than facing the same team in back-to-back starts, I don't see any indication of that. 8 of his last 9 starts, he's allowed 2 runs or less. He's gone 6 innings or more in 8 of those 9 contests. The Mets bullpen has been bad lately. They were without Diaz because of the suspension. They've got him back, so that should change. But I still like Washington at a price. I just don't like this Mets team as a favorite. I'm going to go ahead and take Washington with Jake Irvin and look at his season numbers. In 106 innings, he's got a great strikeout to walk ratio, 94 strikeouts to just 24 walks on the season. I'll take the better pitcher and getting a price. I'll go ahead with Washington opposite of Brian today.
So each of the first 6 meetings between these two teams went went over the total or pushed. They all got to 9 runs or more. The 7th meeting was on July 4th, and that was that 1-0 pitchers duel that you just referenced. We've seen a lot of over money come for tonight's game. This game totaled 8 at the open. Now I'm seeing pretty much 8.5 across the board. So we've moved a full half run on this total number. Do you expect runs in bunches tonight, or is this one of those games where, once again, we would look for the pitchers to dominate?
This is a game because of them going back-to-back starts, Teddy. I would not play the under. I don't know that I get to the window with them as far as the over, but you lost a half a run in value by waiting till this morning if you did. So no under for me, but a lean to the over.
Marco has a promo as well we're going to hit on because, well, we love our good friend Marco D'Angelo. Marco, what do you have up on WagerTalk.com?
Well, I've got my Tuesday package, my baseball all access. You can get everything today for $29. And the feature play in that is my 4% baseball game of the week. You can check that package out, $29. We've been rolling with our plays all year in 2024. Over the last 184 days, we're up over $10,000 in profit for our clients. And you know, Kelly, I don't release a lot of plays. We don't have a lot of big plays. The majority of my plays are 3% plays or less. We do have a 4% play today. Check that out over at WagerTalk.com. And of course, if you don't want to buy the 1 day for $29, take advantage of that 30-day package and get everything for just $7 a day. And that would include my WNBA, which we are 14-4 on the season. I don't release WNBA plays every day, but when we do, they've been winning.
If you're new to Wager Talk, guess what? You also get 15% off using coupon code KIV69. You get an entire week of Marco D'Angelo. Marco, let's hit this second baseball game. I've got my Wager Talk odds screen open, and it looks like there's several different prices for this one. The New York Yankees take on the Tampa Bay Rays. This one opened Yankees minus 125, but it's come down a considerable amount. The cheapest price you can get right now is with our friends at Circa or Superbook minus 110.
Yeah, and the Yankees, there's no question, they are absolutely struggling. This is a team that, you know, started the season out red hot, and they've hit the skids. And Kelly, I've always said that when you are struggling, sometimes the best thing that can happen to you is to head out on the road. Get away from the hometown crowd. Get away from the local media asking you the same question 14 different ways, which is basically what's wrong, why are you losing? And I like them tonight on the road in Tampa. Tampa comes back off of a road trip. This is their first game back at home. I like the fade teams in that spot. Also, I'm looking at the pitching matchup. Now, the Yankees send Carlos Rodon to the mound. He is a guy that prior to his last start, he had 3 just god-awful starts. Why do I think things are going to change tonight? Well, I got the buy sign, in my opinion, in his last start. And I reference starting pitchers a lot like horses. They come in and out of form throughout the year. And your job, our job, is to try to find when they're coming into form and when they're going out. And the fact that he allowed just 3 runs in his last start, had a high strikeout count, 8 strikeouts in that one, tells me he's heading back into form. And if you look at him, prior to those 3 bad starts that I mentioned, he was sensational for most of the year. He had allowed 3 runs or less in 13 of 14 starts. And in fact, 11 of those starts was 2 runs or less. I'm going to go ahead and go with the Yankees to bounce back on the road tonight. And Tampa sends Ryan Pepio to the mound, who has only made the 5th inning once in his last 4 starts. I think the Yankee bats get to him tonight, and I'm going to go ahead and take the Bronx Bombers tonight. And speaking of the Bombers, we just talked about that over trend with the Mets. I don't know. There must be something in the water in New York, because if you are an over better and you've been betting over in the Yankee games, last 17 games, you've gone 13-3-1 to the over. So although I like Rodon tonight, I'm not playing any unders in this one, but I am taking the Yankees for my play today on the show.
So Tampa's fared well against lefties like Rodon this year. They've WRC plus. What am I seeing? They're top 10 in that regard, 111. So they've done fairly well against opposing left-handers. And look, let's be real. If you've been betting on the Yankees for the last 3 weeks, all you've done is hemorrhage money. Don't you want to see the Yankees win a game or two before we start riding them? Because this team hasn't just been cold. They've been cold in a lot of different ways. That's how you go 5-15 over a 20-game span when you're laying a price in most of those games. So are you worried at all that, let's see the Yankees win one before we back them? Or is this, it doesn't matter. The spot is too good to pass up.
I like the spot, Teddy. I also like the price. It's not often that you're going to get the Yankees in this price range, because go back and look, even during that 20-game stretch where they've been getting pummeled, as you pointed out, and I agree with you, you still were laying, hefty numbers in some of those games because of the name, the Yankees. Right now, it's so bad. We're finally getting where the market has shifted, and as you saw, I put this up overnight. The line was minus 122. We've seen it come down as, the market is grabbing Tampa. So I think there's value in the spot, and I think that I expect a big outing from the pitcher. And like I said, get away from New York. We know New York's one of the toughest places to play in all of sports. You're under, the eye of the lens with everybody there in New York. Go to Tampa, and there won't be a lot of fans down there booing you. There won't be hardly any fans in Tampa. You can attest to that, Kelly. You've been to a few Tampa games. They don't draw a lot down there. So it's a great spot for the Yankees, I think, to get things right.
Listen, I had a great time. I spent the last game versus the National in the Viva Suite. It was all you could eat, prime rib, all you could drink Viva. I had the over. Steve Merrill and I did last call, and he goes, "Okay, I'll take the over." It was 1-1 in the 6th. I was like, all right, this is a dead-on loser. And then Tampa does what they do, and they made a couple of mistakes. And lo and behold, I got to cash a ticket. So I'm with you, Marco. It is probably going to be pretty desolate there on a Tuesday evening in Tampa.
So the one time that the Rays draw is when the Yankees are in town. It'll be much busier than usual, but in terms of a home field edge for Tampa, they'll bat last, but they won't have the crowd support even in their own building.
That is a fact. Teddy is absolutely correct. All right, Marco, as he mentioned, 4% MLB game of the week, and he's got a few other baseball plays going for tonight for just $29. As Marco also said, he has been crushing 2024, so I hope you've been tailing him. His clients are up over $10,000 in the last 184 days. Marco, it feels like the last time I saw you was 184 days ago, but football season is right around the corner. When did we decide we're doing bet on it? The week before week 0?
We'll be back with previews, AFC and NFC previews, as we always do around mid-August. So get that last vacation in, Kelly, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Oh, don't you worry, Marco. I'm going to get that last vacation in after I finish hosting WagerTalk Today with my good friend Teddy Covers. And Teddy Covers has a big game breakdown of his own.
Yeah. And of course, we're working football previews right now as well. I'm in the process of recording 32 team preview videos, recording them all this week, and they will be on the WagerTalk YouTube channel fairly shortly. I can't tell you exactly what day they'll be up there, but they'll be up soon. And of course, all 32 teams, I'm going to give you opinions about win totals. Are they an over team? Are they an under team? Bet on early, bet late. Good info. Check it out.
Teddy, quick question. I've already started my NFL work as well, but I don't like to record my videos until I get a little bit of more information, right? There's several teams that have yet to name a starting quarterback. My lowly Denver Broncos, as you can see over my shoulder, probably going to be Bo Nix, but I don't know if it really matters. How do you go into doing some of your early work on teams that we don't really have definitive answers about yet?
We say that we don't have definitive answers on this, and we do the rest of our work and say, we'll see how it goes.
Okay.
Does it make a big difference for Denver if Bo Nix is a week 1 starter or if he's a week 6 starter?
No.
It really doesn't. There's a lot of questions that you can ask that really don't have a big picture right answer or wrong answer in that regard. It doesn't matter who Denver's starting quarterback is. They're going to be below league average in that regard, regardless. So I'm not afraid to. And of course, when you're talking about the reason that you do videos and put stuff up in July, because you're trying to beat the markets. You're trying to get the best of the number. And when you wait till August, guess what? The market's already 3 steps ahead of you. So One of the reasons that I love to do my NFL work early and then do college later is because, I mean, once the draft is done and the mini camps are done, your NFL stuff's set for the fall. College football, especially in the modern world, there's nothing set for the fall right now. So it's easier for me to do my NFL work early, get the season win report out early, and then shift the focus to college. But we'll do that after we get these NFL videos recorded. We're working on it all week.
I love it. Teddy Covers bringing all of his knowledge. Big game breakdown. Teddy said he was going to back the Oakland A's, and my stomach is already churning. Plus 175 today. They're playing in Boston.
Yeah, the money's coming for the Red Sox in this game. I mean, I'm even seeing higher than that. If you shop around, you can find better than plus 175 right now for Oakland. And look, make no mistake about it. The A's are 34-58. They're 24 games under 500. They're going nowhere. They have no fan base. They have no betting bandwagon ever. So if a team like Oakland can play decent ball, 500 level ball, they'll be money makers. Well, guess what? They're 5-5 their last 10, playing 500 level ball. They scored 5 runs or more in all 5 of those wins, but hitting decently well. Starting pitcher, Joey Estes, he just threw a complete game shutout last time out. 5-hitter, only walked 1, only 92 pitches in that game. Estes had 2 really bad starts this year. And admittedly, both came on the road. At Houston, at Minnesota, he got absolutely bombed in those games. All 8 of his other starts are either decent or good. The A's are 24 games under 500, but they're 5-5 with Estes on the hill. Now, I'm not a huge spot player, but this is a bad spot for Boston. The Red Sox have been playing great, right? They're 6-1 their last 7. Huge weekend series in the Bronx. Took 2 out of 3, including the finale on Sunday. And then you get a day off to party on Monday. This ain't no focus spot against Oakland. And we think about the Red Sox. Oh, Fenway Park. The Red Sox had 0 home field edge last year, 39 and 42 at home, 39 and 42 on the road. This year, they're 29 and 17 on the highway. Big money makers. At Fenway, just like last year, they're still 3 games under 500 at home. So, Brian Bello, starter for Boston. He, too, has been better on the highway than at home. He's got a reverse home road dichotomy. His 6 starts at home this year. He's got an ERA above 6. The Red Sox are 2-4 in those games. Bello's last home win came on May 12th. That was nearly 2 months ago. Live dog here. Give me the A's at the plus price. There's your big game breakdown. Back to you, Miss Stewart.
I mean, I did back Brian on Saturday with the Rockies, and they're maybe a half a step above the A's. But at least they were at home, Teddy. This makes me so nervous. But I trust you, and I'm going to join you today on the Oakland, soon-to-be Las Vegas A's. Speaking of Las Vegas, we have a legendary Las Vegas bookmaker joining us right now, Arthur DiCesare at ArtDice21. That does not look like the Westgate Superbook, sir. Did John Murray give you permission to work from home today?
Yes, Kelly. Yes, Teddy. Occasionally I get days off, and especially in the summer, you can have multiple days off. But in, I don't know, a month and a half, there will be no days off. So, we take advantage when we can.
That is a fact, and we appreciate you hanging out with us here on WagerTalk Today on your day off, and we appreciate everybody in the comment section. If you guys have a question regarding football for Art, please let us know. Teddy and I want to know all of the things regarding the NFL and college football. Art, let's start off with this. Any sharp action you've seen as far as season win totals in the NFL?
Oh, yeah. I mean, season win totals have been really fun. I've come basically on here the last month and just kind of thrown out some teams. We'll just kind of go over them again. I think a couple of teams that have been very noticeable with their line moves. And I always tell people, you rarely are going to see the half game, full game move yet. You're going to really see us move from minus 110 to minus 130, minus 140 in that range. The New York Giants, under 6.5 wins, that opened flat minus 110. It's now minus 130. That was sharp action. The Minnesota Vikings, very sharp action on the over wins. We opened 6.5, minus 120. We're now sitting 6.5, minus 150. So we've moved it a full 30 cents. Haven't gotten to 7 yet. Don't feel we need to get to 7 yet. We could get pushed there, but we haven't gotten pushed there yet. That is one. Here is the one that did move, and it did move half a game. Dallas opened 10.5, under -120. We saw very sharp action come in on the Dallas Cowboy under. We're now sitting 10 -120. So that has been the real team, the one team that has moved a full half a game. And I said this last week, and I'll say it again. That also correlated with a lot of Eagle money to win the division. Philly was sitting at +120 to win the division. The Eagles -120 to win the division. So that all kind of correlated with the Dallas under and Philly to win the NFC East.
So when you see the money come in on the season wins, do you see the corresponding money come in? I know you have lines up for every game all year. Does the corresponding money come in on or against those teams in those games of the year or the future look headlines? Or does that money that come in on season wins, is that kind of independent from the week by week point spreads?
It's a great question, Teddy. I think it's independent, but one team I will throw out there, and they're one of the lowest win totals on the board, should be one of the worst teams in the league, the New England Patriots. Sitting there with a win total of 5. And we've seen some under money come in, move the total, not the total, but moved, from -110 to -120, -125. But New England, throughout weeks 1 through 18, which we have all the games up, have been a real bet against team. You've seen, week 2, Seattle goes there. That was a 1-point game. It's now Seattle -2.5. The Jets in week 3 moved off the key number of Jets -7, now 7.5. Even a couple weeks down the road, I think it's week 6 or 7, they go to Chicago, and now you got Chicago laying 6.5 instead of 5.5. New England's been the one that's really stood out weeks 1 through 18 that have seen the biggest bet against.
Yeah, if you guys didn't know, the Westgate Superbook has an app, and you can go bet weeks 1 through 18 right now. Any of the games that your heart desires, you think they put up a wrong number, they're going to take your action. I do love to see those. I am a little, we'll call it apprehensive to bet this early, Art. And like I told Teddy, I know you have one or two things I believe that you're able to do. You can either get the best of the information or you can get the best of the number. And I think sometimes you cannot get both with certain teams with some unknowns. But in the NFL, like Teddy mentioned before you came on, we know quite a bit about these teams after the draft, after OTAs, barring anything catastrophic, of course. For you guys as bookmakers, you guys have to put these lines out. I believe they came out a couple of weeks ago. What are you looking at, and are you anticipating money coming in? Like you mentioned, you guys made Seattle a 1-point favorite at New England week 2. Were you anticipating getting hammered that quickly on that particular game or any particular game?
Yeah, Kelly, a lot of times you have to trust your numbers in the beginning, of course. You put your numbers up, and then we always talk about this, and I'll talk about this on any show I go on. We want to book to the sharp action. When the sharp action comes in and tells us maybe a number's too low or a total's too high or whatever the case may be, we have plenty of time to take that information from our sharp bettors that we respect, and then we can start to mold numbers and start to book against that action. And we love sharp bettors. People always think we don't. We do. It's kind of a marriage where we know that, are we going to get every number right? Of course not. And we can then use that information and say, okay, you guys are now against New England. We start seeing the New England money come in. Maybe we can go through the New England schedule and start moving things a half a point or a full point or whatever the case may be, even if those games hadn't been bet yet, because we've already seen, 4 or 5 or 6 different New England games get bet. So it's a real nice thing for us. And when you're talking advanced weeks, you're talking weeks and even months when we're going to have, to really massage those numbers. So it all works out for us.
So I want to delve into this a little bit more, because clearly then this isn't a Westgate Superbook infomercial, but there is clearly different ways that different books handle bettors who make positive expectation wagers. And what we've seen with legalization of gambling around the country is that at many books, bettors get severely limited and or cut off. At the Westgate, you guys don't do that. Talk about how you can get away and how you can make book without limiting the wise guys, without cutting off the wise guys. What are you doing that some of the bigger shops that cut people off aren't doing?
Well, Teddy, I mean, also, too, listen, you got to be fair. It's an advanced line. You're not going to get what you would get, week of a game. They're advanced lines. They're going to have advanced limits, but we do put up all the games. So we do offer them. We're going to take, max bets on certain markets that, depending on what it is, whether it's college football or future, NFL, weeks ahead of schedule, all that type of stuff. So the reason we don't want to limit or, kick out all the quote unquote sharp bettors is what I just said. It's important for us to know that sometimes the people that we really respect or someone who's really good in a certain sport can come in and show us that maybe, like I said, our numbers a little low, or maybe we weren't as, high on this team as we should have been. Those are all great things for us. And I always say when you have markets like, or, games that are going to go off in months, it really gives us time to work those numbers and take action on the other side and really book to that early sharp action. And it's great for us. And I know for me as, a guy who's learning from the best in the business, like Jay and John and Jeff and Ed Salmons and all these people, I'm just listening and understanding that this is a process that is done and has been happening for 10, 15, 20 years. And it's good to see that we don't do that, because I think a lot of books who do kick out these bettors, you take the bet and then all of a sudden it's like, well, now we don't know what to do, and you lose that information. And now you're basically just copying off a Don Best screen. And that's not a good way to book. I mean, we're still bookmakers.
I love that you guys are still bookmakers, and I'll take that as an insult that you guys did not move the Avery Johnson Heisman number after I bet it. Well, that's a good segue into college football, Art, which is my one true love. Week 0 feels like it's right around the corner. Less than 50 days to college football season. Dublin is going to kick it off for us with Florida State and Georgia Tech. Week 0, any sharp action you've seen? Week 1, any sharp action you've seen?
Absolutely, Kelly. I'm glad you mentioned the Heisman. We saw a lot of Dylan Gabriel yesterday. He was sitting 14-1 on our board. We were a little high on the board. And, that's okay. We understand that the Heisman pool is going to get a lot of love and a lot of action. We moved Dylan Gabriel from 14-1 to 10-1. That's the Oregon quarterback, obviously the transfer from Oklahoma. We know that Oregon offense will be explosive as always. So saw a lot of money come in yesterday on him. And to be fair, we were the highest on the board. There were a lot of 8s and 9s and 10s to 1s out there, so we went there. We went to 10-1. We're still a little high. There's still some 8 to 1s out there. But as far as games go, a couple of that have really moved. UCLA goes to Hawaii. That was an opening number of UCLA minus 17. You're now sitting UCLA minus 13. A lot of love for the Rainbows. They've taken a lot of action. 4-point move tremendously. And we saw even more of a move yesterday. SMU at Nevada. That opened SMU minus 20.5. I remember a couple of weeks ago coming on this show and saying SMU was minus 23. Well, SMU was minus 24 yesterday. Took more money on SMU. We're now sitting SMU minus 25 at Nevada. So that's a huge 4.5-point move. TCU at Stanford. TCU was a 10.5-point favorite. Stanford has taken a lot of love being a home dog. They are now plus 9 with TCU coming in week 0.
So in college football, when it comes to the win totals, obviously in the NFL, we do price a half a win in the range of about 45 cents, give or take, a little bit more on the margins, a little bit less in the middle. In college football, a half win can be worth even more than that, a lot more than that. Talk about the college football win total marketplace and what you've seen so far this offseason.
So for us, Teddy, we actually are going to get up our win total this weekend. But just to talk about that, you're right. It is a little bit more volatile. And I think for me, just knowing all the teams, when you're talking, 120 plus teams, maybe even 130 plus teams now in Division I college football, I don't want to say that the NFL win market has public players. There are public players who come in and bet that market. It doesn't feel as much in the college win total to me when I look at it. That feels way more sharp to me when someone's picking off a MAC team or a Conference USA team and betting their win total. There are still going to be public people who come in and bet the Steelers. It's just the way it is. Now, that's how I feel. And you're right. I think it is a little bit more, we get a little bit more aggressive and try to move those numbers, instead of maybe the juice, maybe we are moving the half a point or, the half a win. We're getting more aggressive instead of going, 9 over minus 120 to 9 over 50. Maybe we're going 9.5 now under minus 120 or minus 130. So it is a little bit quicker, and we're coming up a little bit late now on putting up our win totals. So we're probably going to have to get quicker and more aggressive because some, markets have already been out there.
Art DiCesare, the Westgate Superbook at Art Dice 21 on your social channels. Teddy, I always appreciate these guys with a look behind the counter. And plus, he's way more fun than John Murray. So why would I not want to hang out with him here on this Tuesday? I got to throw in my digs when I can. Thank you for hanging out with us, Art, here on WagerTalk Today. And we will see you next week. Teddy, do you have anything to leave? Oh, I'm sorry.
But before you go, Art, anything you'd like to promote? Thank you for taking the time to spend with us today.
Always, guys. Listen, it's always a pleasure coming on. Teddy, I've told you for years, coming on WagerTalk Today is my favorite thing to do on the days I do come on. So, listen, as always, guys, come down to the Westgate, check us out, get signed up for the app. You're going to have a big football betting menu, not only for college and NFL, all the things you want. Still got a lot of baseball menus out there, too, future things you can bet, divisions, MVP, Cy Young, a lot of stuff still on the betting menu. So come down, check us out. And as always, if you have any questions, you can reach out to me on Twitter/X, whatever you want to call it, and I'll be more than happy to answer any questions.
Awesome. Thank you, Art. And thank you to all of you guys who've been hanging out with us here in the comment section, on the YouTube channel, on the X, on the TikTok. I didn't even know we were live on TikTok. Shout out to whoever made that happen, as well as Instagram. Teddy Covers, I'm going to let you close the show. We barely got to promote you at all, besides KIV 69, which I just feel so weird saying that right now you can get an all-access pass, $99 normally for 7 days, $69 1 week. Any handicapper at wagertalk.com, KIV 69. That is just a promo you guys can use for this week while I'm hosting WagerTalk Today.
Sure, and the promo code KIV 69 is good for me, for Kelly, for anybody. Well, you don't sell plays at the site, Kelly, but you know what I mean. It's good for anyone at WagerTalk.com. I have been running good, 77% across sports over the last 2 weeks. So no complaints. Another right side winner yesterday. A single best bet available today in Major League Baseball. But that's going to wrap it for the Tuesday edition. Kelly and I will do it again tomorrow. Same time, same channel, 9 a.m. here on the left coast, noon for you back east. Between now and then, you guys know what to do. Enjoy the games and best of luck. And no Prez, I can smile. Cheers.